Yes, it does, yeah.
I want to, we'll do it officially, but just want to welcome Julia McDonald with us. She's, in fact, right out of the box, she gets the first bill. Nice move, Sam. So we're
I
I'll
can't
do it
hear.
official, but anyway, Julia, we thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
You know, Senator
So-
Dunn, Julia is also with IF&W, so I get to see her twice a week.
Yes,
That's true.
Yeah, that's-
Actually, 4 times a week.
Julia, this is a lot better committee, just so you know.
yeah.
It is, it is.
Did Julia bring Representative Martin a birthday cake? She was supposed to do that as a new clerk, didn't she?
Oh, that's right, Julia. I'm sure you
That's
did.
right. Yes.
Yeah, it's just here. It's just here in the
Excellent.
building,
We
unfortunately.
knew a McDonald would come through for us. Thank you.
Right.
And they were asking about what kind of cake your wife is making. I bet it's an upside down cake. Just,
New analyst.
Oh, it is. Very nice, Bruce. Very nice.
She's giggling in the background, so.
Hey, Tom,
Alive.
your former workers down here are asking about you. Yeah, you're on mute. That's a good way to start there, buddy.
Oh, really?
There you go. Yeah. I think
What project?
it was 3:00 in the morning and they wanted to know where Tom Martin was, so.
You say I was tucked in bed, cozy and
Now they
comfy.
can't hear me,
Nice-
even though
nice
I'm
call.
unmuted.
All right, how we doing here?
I didn't push any buttons, though. All right, see if they can hear me now.
Yes.
Huh?
Nothing shows you're speaking on the Zoom meeting.
Okay. Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
yes, good.
We're live. Okay, now.
Already?
Yep, we're all set.
Good. Good afternoon, everybody who's with us, watching. Thank you for being with us. We welcome you to the Committee on Transportation. We'll be holding some public hearings today, 4 to be exact, in the order of LDs 1788, 1839, 1766, and 1851. This meeting, as you all know, is live streamed, and it's on our committee's YouTube channel. Everyone that will be participating via Zoom can be seen and heard if the mic is on. So be careful about that. We'll introduce the members of our committee who we're very proud of. And we're going to start with the former House Chair of this committee, Representative Seabra from Naples. Good afternoon, Representative Seabra.
Good afternoon, Senator. I hope you can hear me. I'm Representative Rich Seaver. I represent the towns of Naples, Sebago, Baldwin, Cornish, and Parsonsfield. And this is my 12th session in the Transportation Committee, and I appreciate it.
Nice.
Thanks,
Welcome.
thanks, Senator. And I'm still 12 sessions worth of transportation. I'm still trying to figure out how a bridge naming is an emergency, but I'm sure you'll enlighten me.
Yes, we will. Would that be 12 sessions or 12 years?
It's 12 sessions. It's 12 years. Yeah, 12 years.
Yeah, great. Welcome. Next, we want to hear from our Representative O'Connell, who, as you know, if your lights go out, he's the guy that turns them back on. And so, Representative O'Connell, welcome.
I like to be a bright spot in people's lives. I was led to believe that I was going to get 100% of Brewer when we redistricted. Unfortunately, I found out that I now have 98.23% of Brewer.
Well, it'll make the introductions easier.
So thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you. Representative Bruce White. Bruce, of course, his wife Doreen have the cutest dog in the state. Representative White.
thank you for that. He didn't want to attend the meeting today. I tried to convince him, but Benny. So, but thank you, Representative Bruce White from Waterville District 109. I'm not sure what percentage, but it's close to 50% of Waterville. So we'll leave it at that.
Wow.
So glad to be here on my second term. And I wondered if Rich Seaver is that 12 consecutive years?
No,
We'll
no,
leave it at
it's,
that.
it's 6 terms, 12 years. I did 8, and then this is now, the rest of it.
Right. Now,
All
he's
right.
getting close to parole. Representative Mark Bryant, Wyndham, who's served 16 years in the legislature and serving Wyndham well. Good afternoon, Representative Bryant.
Thank you, Senator and Mr. Chair. I'm Mark Bryan from Wyndham. I represent half of the town of Wyndham in District 24, and it's an honor to be here and welcome.
Thank you. Representative Mike Perkins, who has more jobs than anyone I've ever known. And we're so glad he's on our committee. Representative Perkins.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Perkins. I represent District Number 77 in Oakland and Sydney. This is going to be my 6th year on the Transportation Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Perkins. Representative Wayne Perry, who was much better looking when he was in 8th grade than he is now, but Representative Perry, welcome.
I think it was 5th grade, Senator Diamond, that you brought me into your principal's office.
Could very well be.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wayne Perry. I represent House District 10, which will turn into House District 140, which covers all of Arundel, all of Dayton, and about half of Lyman.
Thank you, sir.
Serving my 10th year on the Transportation Committee.
Very nice. Representative Lynn Williams, who is really the mayor of Bar Harbor, and if you ever need a parking space, if you're going up to the mountain, just stop in, you can park there. Representative Williams, good afternoon and welcome.
Hi, thank you, sir. I'm Lynn Williams. I represent Bar Harbor, Mount Desert, Lemoyne, and after redistricting, now the Cranberry Isles gives me a great excuse to check out the ferry periodically. This is my 2nd year. This is my first term in the legislature, my 2nd year on transportation.
Thank you, ma'am. Representative Dustin White, who the only one here that can say he's really from Mars, and glad to have him from coming down up in Mars Hill area. Good afternoon, Representative White.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. State Representative Dustin White, I represent 10 towns in Central Aroostook County, and I live in Mars Hill.
Thank you, sir. Senator Ben Chipman, who insisted he'd only serve on committees that started with T, and he's got every one of them. Senator Chipman, go.
Thank you, Senator Diamond. I'm Senator Ben Chipman. I represent Senate District 27, which is the majority of the residents of the city of Portland.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Brad Farron, who has the strength of Superman and the charm of Batman. Good afternoon, Senator Farron.
Wow. Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that. Hey, Senator Brad Farron, I represent Senate District 3, which is the majority of Somerset County. And this is one of the best committees there is to serve on, and looking forward to this session with all of you.
Thank you, Senator. And House Chair is Danny Martin. He's the only one on this committee who has served in the House and the Senate and been a commissioner on the executive branch. So, and plus it's his birthday. So House Chair Martin, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, folks. Danny Martin, House 150, located in northern Aroostook County. And as I speak, it's still -7 degrees.
Excellent. And I'm Senator Bill Diamond, Senate Chair of Transportation, and so proud to be a member of this committee. Thank you all for that. Also, we want to introduce our assistants and analysts, Sam Prower, and Sam is here, Julia McDonald, and then our House Clerk, Darlene Simino, as you all know, really is the brains behind this outfit.
I don't know about that.
Appreciate all of her patience dealing with all of us. We're going to, as I said, hear 4 bills this afternoon, and we're going to, oh, by the way, before I begin, House Chair Martin, anything you would like to say, add, or direct us before we begin?
No, we're all set to go, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. So then we're going to have our first bill, LD 1788, a resolve to rename the bridges in the town of Milo for veterans who died during the Vietnam War, presented by Senator Davis. And I think Senator Davis is here.
Coming.
Senator Davis, good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
We can. Thank you.
Okay. Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, I first want to wish my old friend And I use the word old rather lightly. Representative Martin, a very happy birthday today. And
Thank you, Senator.
it's about 5 below down here, so
Right.
it's a little colder up there. Honorable members of the Transportation Committee, I'm Paul Davis. I have the privilege of representing Senate District 4, which is going to be completely changed, to say the very least. And I'm here today to present LD 1788, a resolve to rename the bridges in the town of Milo for veterans who died during the Vietnam War. The Milo Board of Selectmen approached me a while ago and asked me to submit this legislation in an effort to visibly show their gratitude for 3 men from the small town of Milo who lost their lives while honorably serving our country. Although we will never be able to repay the great sacrifice that Wayne Sangillo, Henry Butch Heel, and James Ellison made, naming these bridges after them is a way to ensure we can never forget their service and heroism. Since the legislation was drafted and turned in prior to the selectmen's meeting to decide which bridge should be dedicated to each individual, I'm requesting that the committee amend the bill to adopt their wishes. The Board of Selectmen has requested Bridge 3244 over the Pleasant River be named the James Ellison Memorial Bridge. Bridge 287, the Wayne Sangillo Memorial Bridge, and Bridge 2572, the Henry Butch Heel Bridge, Memorial Bridge. This recommendation was made to reflect the proximity of each of these individuals' residents to the 3 bridges. You also have a letter from Tony Hamlin, who knew all 3 of these guys. He's a longtime selectman in Milo. And we also have the minutes of the selectmen's meeting, should you folks want them. I'm happy to answer any questions. They gave it all, so I guess that's what I can say.
Thank you, Senator Davis. We appreciate this. Senator Farren has a question.
Yeah, a question, I guess. First of all, Senator Davis, thank you for bringing this forward, and just want to make a comment that, having served on transportation and for a number of sessions, and we've had a number of bridge naming bills. I think sometimes we forget about the folks that served in the Vietnam War, and I think it's very fitting that you bring this forward, and just want to say thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Farren. So appropriate. A question, Senator Davis. The letters that you have, or the letter you have, does that include what would be the amended version?
Yes, I believe so. I believe it is, Senator. All the bridges are within the town of Milo, too. I meant to say that as well.
All right, good.
None of them border another town or anything, so the things have to be.
Are there any co-sponsors that would like to add their testimony? And you're not on my list, but just in case, Senator Black, myself, and Senator Guerin, anybody want to testify? Seeing none. Thank you. Any more questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much, Senator Davis. We will do our best to take care of this in the appropriate manner.
Thank you very much. Have a nice-
Others, yeah, thank you. Others who would testify as proponents? Seeing none, are there those who would testify as opponents? Seeing none, are those who would testify neither for nor against? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing on LD 1788. It's closed. Now, in cases like this, remember that we also have the option of going right to work session. Julia, I would ask that, do you have the letter in hand that Senator Davis had mentioned?
Hey, Senator Diamond, this one's me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
It's upside down. Sam, go ahead.
Yes, we do have the letter, and I have it right in front of me that from the town. And I did just look and confirmed that the letter requests that the bridges be named as Senator Davis testified.
So in that case, we do have, we have the option as per our routine in the past, that if a committee member would like to, after I close the hearing, if you'd like to move in a work session, we will do that. Senator Chipman, did you have a question?
I just wanted to make a motion, we go into work session, but we'll wait till you close the hearing first.
Okay. All right, we'll close the public hearing on LD 1788, which I know I had done that, but I wanted to make sure I did it with the right force and deliverance. And so now we'll entertain to go into work session. It's been such a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, all those in favor, just raise your hand to go into work session. Thank you very much. We're going to work session been passed. Now we have a motion.
Make a motion that we pass LD 1788.
Motion been made to pass as amended, LD 1788. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. Discussion, yes, discussion. Seeing none, we'll move a vote. Darlene, we'll go to you.
Okay, everybody turn your mics on, turn your cameras on. Senator Diamond,
Yes.
Representative Martin, Danny,
Yes.
Senator Farren,
Yes.
Representative Perkins,
Yes.
Representative Perry,
Yes.
Representative Williams,
Yes.
Representative Dustin White,
Yes.
Senator Chipman,
Yes.
Representative Bryant,
Yes.
Representative Bruce White,
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin,
Yes.
Representative O'Connell,
Yes.
and Representative Seabrook.
Darlene, I'm going to abstain because I don't think any of these bridge naming bills are properly before the body, so I'm just going to abstain.
Okay.
Okay. I don't think I've ever had one of those. One abstain and 12 in favor.
Thank you very much. The motion to pass passes with a 12-0-1. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Davis. Thank you again. We'll now open public hearing 1839. This is all coming back to me here pretty slow, but it's coming back. This is a resolve to name the bridge in the town of Unity, the Alton Mac McCormick Memorial Bridge, presented this afternoon by Senator Curry. Good afternoon and welcome, Senator Curry.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and distinguished colleagues of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. My name is Chip Curry, and I serve as the state senator for Senate District 11, which includes the 26 rural, coastal, and island communities of Waldo County. Over the summer, I reached out to constituents across Waldo County and asked if they had suggestions for legislation for the session so that I could best represent them in the legislature. Penny Sampson, a select person for the town of Unity, approached me with a suggestion to rename Bridge 5228 as the Alton Mac McCormick Memorial Bridge. This bridge is located on US Route 202 and State Route 9 in the town of Unity over the Sandy Stream. Those of a certain age and those familiar with our Maine history will recall that in the fall of 1954, Maine was battered by Hurricanes Carol and Edna, only days apart. Combined, they caused enormous destruction and multiple deaths, including 2 in Unity. During Hurricane Edna, a family of 10 was trapped on top of their car in Unity, cut off by raging floodwaters. A human chain of rescuers managed to get 9 of them to safety. In the effort to save the children, a 47-year-old man was swept in the floodwaters. That man was Alton, known as Mac McCormick, and he served as Unity's assistant fire chief. His body was discovered several days later, and he was posthumously awarded the first ever civilian citation for bravery by Governor Burton Cross. I'd like to note that there used to be a gymnasium dedicated to Mr. McCormick, but that it has since been torn down and nothing remains. This piece of legislation intends to honor his service to Unity and bravery during the Hurricane Edna storm of 1954. Thank you for your consideration. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Senator Curry, for being here, presenting that bill. Are there questions from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you, Senator. There were no co-sponsors on this bill that I can see. So are there others who would testify? I have none on my list.
I don't either, but there's somebody with a phone number on here that I don't know who it is. I don't know if, can I bring them in and see what they want to testify on,
Of course.
just in case?
Senator Diamond, I believe that is Penny Sampson.
Penny, is this Penny Sampson?
I'm here, Penny Sampson.
Penny Sampson, welcome to our committee, and we appreciate you being here and taking some time. And it's my understanding you want to testify as a proponent?
Yes, I am the chair of the Board of Selectmen for the Town of Unity.
Okay.
Having grown up here, I'm a big fan of Unity history, and I proposed this piece of legislation to Senator Curry to remember and honor one of our citizens who's unfortunately, when our gymnasium was removed, the dedication and remembrance of him was removed as well.
Okay. Is that the end of your testimony, Ms. Sampson?
Pretty much everything Senator Curry just said is what I had written down, so I don't feel the need to add any additional information. He had everything correct.
Excellent. Does not surprise me. Thank you very much. We appreciate you being with us and taking the time to offer that testimony. Are there questions from the committee of Ms. Sampson? Seeing none, thank you very much, ma'am, for your time with us. Anyone else, Darlene, you have that I have?
No.
Okay. Seeing no more to testify in favor, are there those who would testify as opponents? Seeing none, are those who would testify neither for nor against? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing on LD 1839. We're going to wait until we get written documents on this from the select board or the legislative body local, and then we'll move on at another time with that.
People are disappearing on me.
We're now going to open a public hearing on LD 1766. And 1766 is an act to remove Watson's Bridge in the town of Littleton from the list of historic bridges for which the state is responsible for maintenance and rehabilitation, presented by the House Chair, Representative Martin of Sinclair. Thanks again and good afternoon again, Representative Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator Diamond, and members of the Committee on Transportation. My name is Danny Martin, and I am before you this afternoon to present, as you pointed out, LD 1766 on behalf of the Department of Transportation. LD 1766 is submitted by MDOT and proposes to change 23 MRSA Section 603. This section of statutes identifies 13 historical bridges around the state that are responsible of the department to maintain and rehabilitate. Included in this list is a bridge, is the Watson Settlement Bridge located in Littleton, Maine. Unfortunately, this past summer, this bridge was destroyed by fire. The bridge had been closed to vehicle traffic and was used only by pedestrians. MDOT does not intend to rebuild this structure, and LD 1766 proposes to remove the Watson Bridge from the list of 13 historical bridges under the responsibility of the department. Megan Russo of the department is here to answer any questions and to further discuss if this is the wishes of the committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Martin. Are there questions of Representative Martin before we proceed? Seeing none, we would welcome then Megan Russo from the Department of Transportation.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Great to see you all. And happy birthday, Representative Martin.
Thank you, Megan.
Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. I am Megan Russo, Legislative Liaison for the Maine Department of Transportation. I am before you today to present LD 1766, an act to remove Watson's Bridge in the town of Littleton from the list of historic bridges for which the state is responsible for maintenance and rehabilitation. Section 23, Section 603 outlines Maine DOT's responsibility for the maintenance and rehabilitation of 13 historic bridges around Maine. Included in this list is Watson's Bridge in Littleton, Maine. Watson's Bridge was a 170-foot covered wooden structure that was closed to vehicle traffic in 1984, and since then had been used as a footbridge only. Unfortunately, on July 19th, 2021, the Watson's Bridge was destroyed by fire. It is difficult to estimate a replacement cost for the wooden structure, as we don't have a bid history for wooden covered bridges. Through researching nearby states and our Canadian neighbors, we estimate that a replacement cost could be upwards of $3 million. This figure assumes that the existing substructure units could be reused. It is not the intent of Maine DOT to rebuild the structure, and as such, we have submitted LD 1766 to formally remove it from Section 603. Thank you, and I'd be happy to address any questions the committee might have or bring additional information to the work session. And I would also like to point out, prior to submitting this legislation, we did have a conversation with the town of Littleton to let them know of our plans of submitting the bill. And we didn't hear any concerns from the town. We, of course, did hear that they were upset that it was lost by fire, but no concerns that we weren't going to rebuild it.
Thank you, Ms. Russo. Just as a quick question, have you been able to touch base with the representatives from that area, senator representatives, legislators?
Yep, so I talked to Senator Stewart. This is his district. I did, prior to us submitting the legislation, I actually reached out to him and let him know. He didn't express any concerns. Again, it was mostly that it's a shame that the bridge was lost due to fire. And I think that it's still under investigation of what actually happened.
Thank you. And the House member that represents Littleton?
So the House member, I believe, is the one that just resigned his seat. Is it Representative Johansson?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was not, at the time that we were submitting the legislation, I think he was going through some health issues, so I was not able to speak with him.
Thank you very much. Question, Senator Chipman.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions, I guess. One is who technically owns the bridge? I don't really understand the background on this, but does the state own it? Does the town own it? Is it who owns the bridge? Even though we're responsible for maintaining it as an historic bridge, is it owned by the town or do we own it?
I'm not positive about that, actually, Senator. Let me verify that, but before the work session. I know per statute, it's our responsibility it was our responsibility to maintain it, but I'm guessing it's Maine DOT as it was part of our infrastructure, but I would have to verify. I don't want to give you wrong information.
I'm just wondering what the options are. If it doesn't get a lot of use, maybe the local folks don't want to rebuild it, or maybe they do use it a lot and want to rebuild it. And if we own the bridge, would we be able to let them rebuild it if they chose to, or something like that? I'm just kind of curious about how that would work. But.
Sure. We didn't hear any interest from the town of them taking over responsibility and rebuilding it. And from what I believe in talking to the region manager, we have not heard from any of, or many, if any, of the local people in town. So I haven't checked with Senator Stewart as of in the last week to see if he's heard from anyone, but I don't believe that Maine DOT has.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other questions from the committee?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Representative Martin.
Yeah. I'm not sure if in fact the town wanted to rebuild it. I'm not sure it would have any historical value since it'd be a new bridge. So.
Right. Got it. That is a point well made. Hopefully we'll have that information, the questions that couldn't be answered and other information at our work session. So thank you for all that. Any further questions from the committee? Seeing none. Are there others who would testify in favor of LD 1766? I have a name. No, I don't. I'm good. No one else?
No one else.
Are there those who would testify in opposition? Seeing none, or those who would testify neither for nor against? Seeing none, close the public hearing on LD 1766. We'll now open the public hearing on the final bill today for public hearing, and that's LD 1851, resolve regarding the legislative review of portions of Chapter 305, rules and regulations pertaining to the traffic movement permits, a major substantive rule of the Department of Transportation, presented once again by Representative Martin of Sinclair. Good afternoon again.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Senator Diamond, members of the Committee on Transportation. Again, my name is Danny Martin, and I am here on behalf of the Department of Transportation to present to you LD 1851. I have written testimony, but I suspect Megan Russo, who will follow me, is going to explain this. I just want to share with you that the committee has seen this before. We heard it last year. And with that in mind, I would formally request that we return it over to Ms. Russo.
Thank you very much, Representative Martin. Are there questions, Representative Martin? Seeing none. Others who would testify in favor are Ms. Russo. We will welcome you again.
Hello again. Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, members of the committee. My name again, Megan Russo. I'm the legislative liaison for Maine DOT. I am before you today to present LD 1851. These proposed rule changes were reviewed and approved by this committee and the entire legislature during the first regular session through LD 40. Due to a clerical error by Maine DOT, these rules were never finalized, creating the need for approval once again by the legislature. Nothing in this proposal has changed from last session, and Maine DOT stands by these rule changes. I have included in my written submission a copy of the testimony I presented to this committee last session during the public hearing of LD 40. This provides an explanation of the traffic movement permit process and the proposed changes set forth in LD 1851. As you may recall, during the 129th legislature, Representative Victoria Morales submitted legislation that proposed significant changes to the TMP law. Her bill, LD 1223, placed emphasis on incorporating a multimodal review prior to requiring any widening of the roadway. Working with the representative, Maine DOT determined that it was time to review these rules and update them to reflect the engineering changes that have occurred while incorporating several of the issues she raised in her bill. Representative Morales's bill was amended to a resolve requiring Maine DOT to form a stakeholder group to review the current rules and to submit major substitute rule changes reflecting the work of the stakeholders. LD 1851 represents the vehicle by which these rules are reviewed by the legislature. The proposed rule changes were drafted by Maine DOT and have been submitted for you for review and final adoption for a second time, which we sincerely apologize for that occurring 2 times.
Thank you, Ms. Russo. Are there questions from the committee? For some reason, I didn't get your testimony.
I sent it, I put it up through the portal.
Oh, okay. Just today?
Yes, yep, probably about an hour ago.
Okay. All right. It's helpful if we can get those testimonies a little bit earlier.
Okay.
So we can get a review on it. Thank you very much.
Sure.
For that. Appreciate it. Are there questions, Ms. Russo? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think we also have another person to testify as a proponent, and Angela King. Good afternoon, Ms. King. Welcome. You're on mute. That's going to be we hear that today.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Members of the Transportation Committee. My name is Angela King, and this testimony is on behalf of the Bicycle Coalition of Maine in support of LD 1851. The Bicycle Coalition of Maine is a statewide organization that advocates for bicyclists and pedestrians, and we work to make Maine better for bicycling and walking and to protect the safety and rights of vulnerable users of the public ways. The coalition supports the passage of LD 1851, which revises the traffic movement permit rules and regulations to ensure that public transit, bicycle, and pedestrian facilities are part of the process. So efficient transportation systems provide alternatives to single occupancy vehicles, and facilities for walking and biking have proven to increase active and green transportation, which benefits both the public and environmental health of communities. A transportation system that reduces vehicle miles traveled will help with the state's climate goal of reducing carbon emissions. So in addition, the revisions of the traffic movement permit process addresses the need to make roads safer for vulnerable road users. And Maine data has shown an upward trend in pedestrian fatality rates in the last few years. And this past year, 2021, saw one of the highest rates on record for pedestrian deaths as well as injuries. So for these reasons, we urge the committee to support LD 1851 and vote for an ought to pass committee report to help make a more efficient and healthy transportation system in Maine communities. Thank you for your time and service to the people of Maine.
Thank you very much, Ms. King, and we appreciate you being here and sharing your testimony. Are there questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. Are there other proponents? I have no one on my list that remains. Are there any of those people who would testify as opponents?
There's nobody left on the list.
Seeing none, anyone who would testify neither for nor against? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing on LD 1851. That completes our public hearing segment of our meeting today. But as you know, we as a committee had asked the Department of Transportation, specifically the commissioner, to come before us and make a presentation on the federal infrastructure funding that we've all been hearing and reading about. Unfortunately, we've been hearing some different ways, different spins from depending on who's writing the articles. And so we really want to make sure that we get it straight from the horse's mouth. And we want to make sure that the committee has a chance to not only know what's going on with this infrastructure bill, but also ask questions right to the commission himself about it. But before we do that, Representative Danny Martin, you had a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a point of order. We might want to confer with Sam or our legal folks regarding our committee rules on individuals who are present and abstaining. I think that may be in violation of our rules. I just wanted to have somebody look into that.
That's a good point. It's a good question. I didn't have an answer on that either. So we'll definitely explore that and get that. Representative Seaver, I don't know, just so you'll know, we'll take a peek at that to make sure everything's okay. Any other questions, comments? Then Commissioner Van Note, thank you very much for being with us. We appreciate your time, knowing that you've got a lot going on, but on the other hand, I think it's very important for this committee to get direct conversation with you because we all come from different parts of the state and we might have different issues of concern. So your presence and your explanations are greatly appreciated. So good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Mr. Chairman, and Chairman Martin, the members of the committee. I feel just as I think this is as important as you think it is. I mean, it's critical to maintain a close connection to the committee's jurisdiction and oversight. So it's indeed my pleasure to be here and today talk about the federal bill that passed. Would you like me to just kind of take it away, or
Yes.
what would you like, Mr. Chairman?
Well, I'd like to have you make a presentation, and along the way, if people have questions, feel free to ask. Do not have to wait till the end. And then at the end, we'll have another opportunity to ask questions. So please proceed.
That sounds great. Assuming I can navigate this, I'm going to share do a brief PowerPoint. It should only take about 20 minutes, I'm guessing. And again, I like questions at any time as well. So I will try and share this.
Thank you.
How's that? Is everybody seeing it?
Looks good.
Okay. Again, I'm here to talk about the transportation-related overview. There's actually a lot of other interesting stuff with broadband and water and electrical grid and all kinds of other stuff that, as an engineer, I think is really cool too. But I'm the Commissioner of Transportation, so I'll focus on that. And it's going to be about what's currently being called the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. You may know it as the IIJA, or the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. But this is the current moniker it has, and I believe will have for the foreseeable future. Okay, I was just a quick agenda of, as always, I try to put some things in general context. And then we're going to divide the conversation into two distinct elements because they really are different, and how you access funding and rely on it and what it can be used for is very different of the two kinds. There's formula funds. That's the kind of guaranteed money that you can plan on, almost like your paycheck, if you will, where you just know it's coming and you know what can be used for. That's the very reliable stuff that helps us build a long-term program. And then there's discretionary grants. As you will see, formula funds got a healthy increase, but it's the discretionary grants where the real action is, and we don't know everything about those yet, as we'll get into. As I always try to do, is I try to put things in context. We're talking about federal funds. This is a pie chart that I don't expect you to be able to read or see. That's why it's color coded. The federal is the blue hues at the bottom, represents about 44% of our funding now. Looking forward, that's an estimate looking forward into the next 3 years of our work plan, which will soon be published. So it's these three elements here. And the formula funds, that big blue wedge, is the kind of reliable stuff, and the other elements we can chat about. I always like to say, well, the most common question, the one I have a duty to make sure I can answer, is where's all the money going? You know, what are you spending your money on? This shows in a very high level. The big gray wedge to the right is for highway and bridge system capital uses. The purple wedge is for multimodal, which is rail, ports, bike paths, transit, all that. That is the purple wedge. This kind of gold, yellow wedge, which is for highway and bridge operations, all the plow drives, the people in orange vest that you see on the side of the road most of the time. And then this is multimodal operations in the pink. And this element here is for system management, you know, planning, making sure we're doing the right things, and administration. These are the things that, I mean, if I was sitting in your shoes, you'd want those wedges as small as possible, but they have to be big enough to make sure you're spending all the rest wisely. So that's in generally where the money's going. And then just one often asked question that I wanted to hit that place this on context, because in context, vehicle miles traveled statewide. You'll recall we had briefings where we lost almost 50% right after the pandemic started. And you can see it in red here. The lines you see here this is 2020. The black is this year. And the blue is 2019, or the last non-pandemic year. And as you can see, the convergence of the black in the blue, and that was not intentional. When I think about it now, black and blue, that was not intentional at all. We've largely rebounded and the traffic is back. But if we had more time, and that was the purpose, it hasn't all come back uniformly. Telework is still having an impact in places like Portland, 295 southbound out of Brunswick, where telework happens or flexibility happens. People aren't coming in all at the exact same time. So the peak hours are down about 10% right there. But statewide, we're largely back. For the last 10 weeks, we've been within a fraction of 1% of the same traffic we had in 2019. In more recreational areas, like, you know, down at Trenton, Route 3, heading to MDI and that kind of stuff, and other areas that have a visitor element, they're actually higher. So statewide traffic is back, but it's not exactly the same as it was. Now getting to the topic of the day, I always try to have a kind of big picture summary before we get into details. And regarding the federal infrastructure bill that was passed last November, this is good news. There's no question. I don't want to lose that. It's good news. I have to add the qualifier eventually for reasons that I'll be able to explain in a minute. The most pragmatic, you know, like money in your hands thing is that we haven't seen any of that money yet. That's not widely known. It's not widely published. But we're operating on a continuing resolution right now that runs until February 18th. Until there is an appropriations bill, all the funding, whether it's formula or discretionary, is not available. The next obvious question, well, when do you think that's going to happen? And my honest answer as a person of humility is, I don't know. I mean, they have it scheduled. The current continuing resolution goes to February 18. If they pass it before then we'll know. Some kind of appropriations bill. There is some kind of, there's a lot going on in Congress, as you know, and if the Build Back Better stuff and other legislation kind of gets wrapped up with this, it's possible the continuing resolution could get kicked down the road again. And history shows if it gets kicked down too many times or too long from that February 18th, like you get in months from that, or an election year, that could be a challenge. So the short answer, I put that out there, and that the money's not flowing yet. In fact, as we sit here right now, our federal funds, because it's a continuing resolution, are coming in about 2% less than last year right now. But that's a very short-term thing. I don't want to lose the big-term picture, which I expect there will be an appropriations bill. And when we do, it's our formula fund, that reliable money, is going up about 28%, which is a huge help to us given construction cost inflation. That said, the real opportunity for anything kind of big changes are in the discretionary grant funding programs, which I'll be going over. And the policy and rules of those programs are still being defined as we speak. And until we know what the rules are, we don't know exactly what we can access, but we are optimistic based on our history of accessing competitive grants that we will be able to increase federal funding to Maine significantly through those grant programs. So that's, if that's the only time you had, I was trying to get something to give you an overview on everything. This is more the details of it. These are these guaranteed formula funds that I wanted to talk about first.
Commissioner, before you begin the next segment, Representative Perry has a question.
Hi, Mr. Commissioner. Well, you mentioned in that last slide about, the inflation. Is that going to eat up all the extra money? I mean, is our cost going to be so high for the construction cost and everything else that any additional money is going to get eaten up, either on your operations side or on actual capital costing so much more that the dollars need to be so much more?
Well, federal funding is largely for capital. The operations side is done by the state highway fund and that. So, but the short answer is on the formula fund side is largely yes, but that's not all. That's to me, I'm extremely grateful. If that was not there,
right,
what are we doing?
Yeah.
And there's real opportunity on the discretionary side. So I actually have a couple of slides on exactly this topic that I'll hit on as we see.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm just going down very quickly the various formula funding programs where you can see what was the last year of the previous transportation reauthorization bill 2021 called the FAST Act. What did this bill or bipartisan infrastructure law bill do an average over its 5 years, and what's the average increase? And as you can see, the first two programs are the real meat and potatoes, bread and butter, National Highway Performance Program. That's largely for interstates and national highway system. And you can see that got a 21% increase. The Surface Transportation Block Grant, that was a 17% increase. That's good. I was hoping, like probably all DOT commissioners, that might be a little higher because that's the most flexible, can be used in most places on highways and bridges statewide. And kind of a little known program to some, kind of inside baseball. It's called the Highway Infrastructure Funds, but it comes from the general fund and it's used for bridges. That's something that we've worked closely with our Senate, our congressional delegation, and you can see a very healthy increase there, and that's very good news, from 32 to 45. After you get out of those programs, the programs go down in size pretty significantly. There's a highway safety program that's up 29%. A congestion mitigation air quality program, which is up 5%. Some will say wasn't climate change and those kinds of things a huge priority. Why isn't that going up more? the short answer is there's a bunch of other programs that relate to that. And so this one going up only 5% does not represent, any kind of shortchanging. The National Highway Freight Program, this is similar. It shows it going down 5%, but remember that's formula funds. There's a bunch of other programs that relate to this that will be going up. I have a summary at the end of this that it all adds up to 66 million bucks and about 28%, just so you know. Then you get down into much smaller programs, but are very significant to like metropolitan planning organizations, rail highway crossing program. You can see the changes there from the old to the new. And that was existing. You notice that these are the existing programs. And this bill actually added some new paycheck elements, if you will, carbon reduction program, a protective resiliency program, the carbon reduction at about 6 million a year, the resiliency at almost 7 million a year, and an EV charging ongoing general funded program at about 4 million a year. So you add those all up. What's the difference between old and new? That's what we were getting and what we will be getting once there's an appropriations bill after the continuing resolution phase is over. You can see that's a significant increase. It's 28%, but again, I always have to, being the banker, has to make sure we can pay for what we're doing. Hasn't been received yet, and we got to get past continuing resolution phase.
So Commissioner, regarding the continuing resolution, we all know that they can continue to continue, yes?
They have continued for years before in history. The most talk, it's all inside, very inside baseball, to be in the right room, just as like at the State House, you have to be in the right room sometime to know exactly what's going on for sure. But most people are thinking it either happens relatively soon in the spring, like close to the 18th or within, this is just a guess, within days or weeks after it. Because if it trails off into many months and gets anywhere close to late spring or summer, you're getting awful close to the end of a federal fiscal year and an election and all that kind of stuff. So I think it either happens the first part of this year or we might be waiting. The good news on that is you don't wait forever. When historically, Congress can do anything they want, but historically, when they do pass it, even if it's like a year late, they often, the money comes retroactively back to the beginning of the bill. So it's more of a timing issue in general than a yes, no, will you? That's why this is very good news. And in fact, when we started building the work plan that I'll be touching on with the committee starting Thursday, way back in Labor Day, this bill was already out there and we started building it based on these levels, assuming the money is coming.
Right.
Of course, I understand the risk. If it doesn't, we'll have to make adjustments in the first year. But then again, as I just said, if it comes late and all at once, we got to be ready to move forward. So DOT is built to be nimble with funding, stopping and starting. But we built our program based on that this additional federal money was coming.
And realizing that the fiscal year for the feds is October.
That's correct.
Versus July 1.
Yep.
Representative Martin has a question.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Diamond. Commissioner, you mentioned earlier that your 3-year work program will be published soon. Do you not have to wait until the Congress acts on any of this to move forward, or is that not the case?
We'd much prefer the money to be certain, right? But every year what we do is we just lay out what our assumptions are for funding, and this will be one of them. Other assumptions we've done in the past have been state funding at various levels and things, and we've just had to say, this is what our assumptions are. I can tell you personally and as an organization, that's uncomfortable for us. We would much rather know it's coming because we respect Congress, we respect the Maine legislature, we respect the committee, we respect appropriations, we respect all those negotiations, and the idea that we just kind of go, yeah, but this is what we're guessing is going to come out. And it's more than a guess, it's based on history, and it's been generally pretty good over time, but we just put it right out there. Those are our assumptions. if we are wrong, and we take responsibility for it, we have to adjust our work plan accordingly. The alternative would be to wait for all kinds of policy level decisions to be made. And this is a 3-year work plan. There's a lot of decisions to be made between now and the 3 years of this work plan. We would be just seizing up, honestly, and probably underproducing significantly if we only relied on stuff that's already been done. So we use history to predict the future, and we do it with humility and respect. And I can tell you it's uncomfortable, but there's really no other way to do a long-term capital plan.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Representative Perry. There's a question.
Yeah, just real quick, Mr. Commissioner, on that point, pretty much most of the stuff that's will be in the work plan for this coming year was in the work plan last year. And it's more forward looking. And if you get extra money, you might be able to move something from 23 to 22. And if you get a little bit less money, you might have to move something from 22 to 23. Is that basically how that will work?
Yeah, we actually do. Yes, essentially the first year is kind of what's nailed down. In fact, we've already put out what we call the construction advertised plan or cap, which is for contractors to know, because they have to know what's coming. We put out a fall forecast and we put that out like in the single digits of January every year. In general, the exercise of a work plan is to update the information in years 1 and 2, which can be very significant, by the way. The cost increases and updates we've had to do of late can be very significant. And we do move some projects up if they're ready, and we move some projects back if we're having trouble getting permits. But in general, it's the adding of the 3rd year. That's what this plan is adding the 3rd year. But the first year, I mean, media, policymakers like yourself, they've generally, what's going to happen this year kind of stuff. And that is where it's more nailed down. Just like fog, you know, the farther out you look, the more foggy it gets. When it's right in front of you, it's generally pretty much nailed down. So your point's well taken, Representative.
Thank you. Other questions at the moment? Okay, Commissioner, you're all set.
Sure thing. And this gets to the question that Representative Perry brought up. These are some actual numbers of construction inflation that we've seen on the highway side in the last 3 years. These are based on actual bids that we've had. And so on the paving side, what we would call a traditional significant heavy treatment, where you mill out an inch or two and you replace it, that's up 44% in the last 3 years. Just an overlay or an 1.25 inch overlay, which is just a basic paving, and these are done on the higher priority roads, it's 41% up. In the ultra thin bonded overlay, that's an actual treatment that we do on interstates and others in order to preserve things most cost effectively, is up 48%. It's still a lot cheaper than doing mill and fills and those kind of things, but those are real numbers. Highway reconstruction, I mean, I remember when I first started coming to this committee, I would talk about $1 million a mile on some roads, or $1 million to, you know, hey, this one's getting to 2. They're 3 to 5 now in rural areas and more in urban areas. And bridge replacements are up 33% roughly. That's a situation of supply, demand, supply chain, labor issues. It's just, it's hard to find people, you know, our partners in the construction industry, I hear them all the time. It's hard to find people who do this. So that's real. And that essentially means that if that 28% hadn't been coming from the feds, we would have been up a creek with paddleless. But that's, so it comes at a very, very good time.
When you're taking bids, just as a thought, do you find a wide discrepancy in the bid process, or do you find them all in a pretty close circle?
It varies bid by bid type and where you are in the state. There are portions of the state where a single bid is very common, a single bidder, just because it's the Maine is, I don't like to think of us at the end of the line. I think it's, I like to think of us in the middle of the maritime Atlantic, right? But in terms of the country and a lot of that kind of stuff, We're at the end of a chain, and so west, north, and down east can have limited bidding. And the bids tend to be a little higher, which you would expect, both because there's limited bidding, but also just because you got to truck things so much further to do stuff. So in other places where there is bidding competition, strangely, the LCP program, like capital paving, that this committee is generally very aware of, where we take care of about half our roads with so-called skinny mix. We still get a lot of bidders on that. And part of the reason there is that the specs are very simple. It's a production thing. They just lay it down and go, and there isn't a lot of hassle, and there's more bidders generally on that. And so we get more small people. So we have been looking at our specs and other ways to try to address this. We're actually doing a study with commissioning a study with an economist at the University of Maine to try to figure out what can we do structurally. But that's what we're finding right now. These numbers are real and significant.
Thanks.
Of course, highways and bridges is the most significant portion of our transportation system in terms of use of our customers, but there's a lot of different modes, and there's some good news in that regard. Multimodal transit funding. In the midst of the pandemic, I think I briefed the committee a couple times that even though highways and bridges didn't receive any money in the first few CARES Act type things, transit did. In fact, Maine received about $132 million on various coronavirus relief bills. And you can see 132 million. And given that the average was 36 million, you can see it was about 3 years worth of money. That was significant stuff. And in this act, transit again received another significant increase. The difference in this funding is it can be used for operations to support those services. It's not just capital like so many of the other programs I just talked about. Multimodal rail funding, the number that most people hear is $66 billion over 5 years. It's a very big, significant number, but it is 5 years and it's national. The bulk of that money is slated for Amtrak existing lines. It's also a grant program that I'll talk about in a bit that we call CRISI, which is a mouthful for Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvements. There's rail crossings funding, and there's a new program to be defined for federal state passenger intercity rail service. Airports, again, significant increase in funding. Most of that money goes directly to airports. DOT acts as we consolidate plans, work with them, and we're essentially a partner as opposed to driving those things. Most individual airports drive their own capital programs, and we help them. But that's a significant amount of funding on the air side.
Yeah, Commissioner, before you go on, the airports in particular.
Yep.
What is there a general percentage based between the larger ones, such as the Portland Jetport, to the smaller? How do you discern?
Well, we don't. The FAA does, and it's all based on their rules. And we have 36 general aviation airports, 6 commercial, and what I call 3 major. And but I'm sorry, as soon as I say that, there's somebody who's like 4th or 5th that are about to get like down in Trenton, like that one. They were actually like 4th. They're a real, they're an airport,
maybe
commercial airport as well.
Maybe the Portland Jetport can put a little more money towards the baggage issue, which takes half an hour to 45 minutes to get your baggage after you land.
I will make sure Paul Bradbury knows all about that. Actually, I will tell him that, and you will be getting a call. That's how Paul is.
Yeah.
So,
thank you, Senator Chipman.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. I just wanted to go back a slide back from behind this one that
I was
about the rail funding, and you talked about maintaining existing lines. Can you talk about what kind of funding might be available through the infrastructure package for new rail development from city to city?
Well, it probably will not surprise you that I anticipated that question and was trying to find out exactly what the rules are. They don't exist yet, but here's what I could find out. Of that, like 66 billion, right off the top, Amtrak's got 22 billion, or a third of it, for national networks in the Northeast Corridor. So then there's 5 million for Chrissy that I talked about. There's 3 billion for a railroad crossing program that I talked about. That leaves 36 billion, or about $7 billion annually. Again, people don't know exactly what it's for. You got to wait and see what the program's for. Historically, new services still require some kind of new starts and small starts kind of analysis, so that the study that we're doing right now for Lewis and Auburn and the study that we're doing for Bangor are necessary prerequisites for anything. So we didn't waste the year. You know, we're doing what we need to do, and I expect we'll find out more about those programs. I wish I knew. Everything you hear is just more, it's people talking, it's insiders, industry insiders talking. And it's not, you don't know exactly what's going to come out, but there's a lot of big projects that need huge amount of, California, Florida, there's some huge projects that could chew this all up on their own if they got it. I'm sure that's not what's going to happen. And there is just a huge backlog of Amtrak just for their existing services, for just taking care of state of good repair type stuff, you know, just taking care of what they got, which is different than the 22 billion off the top for the Northeast Corridor, which is great for us in the national network. So the short answer is they're writing the rules. We're watching the rules. We'll be able to answer that question as soon as they do.
Okay,
But we
so
don't know. But we know it will be of interest to members of the committee and in general municipalities around the state. So we'll stay on top of it and be able to communicate as soon as we know something.
Yeah, so the studies that we're doing kind of could lay the groundwork potentially for some federal funds, depending on.
They'd be necessary no matter what. Yes.
Okay. Great.
Yep.
Thank you. Representative Williams, did you still have a question?
No, I did not. My questions were answered by Representative Chipman's questions.
Thank you very much. All set, Commissioner.
Thank you for those questions. Okay, now we're into discretionary grants, and this is where, to the extent there's transformational impact, I think this is where it's at. Some of the multimodal funding, depending on how those rules are written, that could be a big change. But in terms of the system we have, this is where things happen. And these are competitive, they're non-guaranteed, but I put in the words, those are my words, target rich. I mean, there's opportunity there. We hope. We need to see the rules. We have been relying on discretionary grants for a long time. I've been saying that as actually, in some ways, a risk factor, in that we were relying on discretionary grants just to take care of the system we have. And this shows that. These 3 bullets are the 3 major grant programs that DOT has been using over the last 3 years. And you can see that in total, we've been getting close to $80 million a year on average every year, including what's called the RAISE. They change the names every time, so it's hard to keep track. So each one of these is kind of the same program. It's currently called RAISE, and we were getting on average 23 million a year. Infra or fast lane, these were kind of more the previously had a freight focus, national network focus, you know, big regional kind of focus. We use those a lot to do interstate bridges, and $40 million a year. And then the Consolidated Rail Improvement Infrastructure and Safety Improvement, or CRISI program, we've been very aggressive on using that too, to improve our rail infrastructure, which kind of quietly and not well known to everybody, we're going to have 2 Class 1s in Maine now, whereas just 10, 15 years ago, I mean, Chairman Martin can tell you, the whole rail network in the county was on the brink of not existing. It was like in such disrepair. So that's a great testament to Nate Moulton here and others who kept their eye on the ball and just kept slowly chipping away. And now the rail network in general, freight is on the mend. So that Chrissy program has been very important to Maine. The bill upsized these existing programs significantly. They took the RAISE grant program that I talked about first, and in the law, it's called Local and Regional Project Assistance. Not very sexy, but there it is. But the money it's up 100%. They basically doubled that. Could be more in future bills. The infra program, which was more kind of freight and national kind of focus, that focus could change, but that went up again about 80%. Could be more in future bills. We're still on existing programs, and these are all 5-year national numbers. It's important, so you got to take these and divide by 5 in general. But the Chrissy program is tripled almost. Very good for Maine. We'll be focused on that. And Port Infrastructure Development Program, another one where we don't get as many every year, but I think could become very important to Maine as we try to look for port improvements that could do things like support renewable energy, including like offshore floating wind and that kind of stuff. The fact that it's been doubled 100% is great too.
Commissioner, Representative Williams has a question. Oh, you're on mute.
Yep.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, nice to see you again. I just have a question about the Port Infrastructure Development Program, which I was going to contact you about, so I'll ask you now. As you know, we're doing a lot of planning in Bar Harbor at our former ferry terminal, well, still ferry terminal for the Canadian ferry. Is this one of the programs that might be applicable to getting some funding for some level of what we're doing there?
It's possible, but unlikely. In fact, even us for things like DOT trying to do tens of millions, a big thing for a wind port, for example, that may be tough. It won't surprise people, given all the news we've seen about supply chain in Long Beach and all that over there, that they're looking to do things that would really ease that kind of thing. And so I think the money is going to be generally targeted to some of the bigger ports. With that said, we should still talk, because we have programs that we try to do, certainly for planning and other things, to try to get going, because you can't even get the application in and be in the game until you start doing that kind of first local visioning, getting local support, all that kind of stuff. So we should talk.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. Now here's, that's all. If you stopped right there and say the programs that we rely on the most have been doubled or tripled, that would be good news, right? And you'd say, okay, how's that going to work? There are at least 9 new grant programs that the rules haven't been written for yet, that could benefit the state of Maine, and that will be investigating. It's still too early to tell, but I put in bold the ones that I think might apply to us the most. These are listed as I tend to do, in descending order of money. You know, how big is the target? But there's a bridge investment program, which is different than all the rest of the other programs, which is discretionary. You might have heard during the debate on this infrastructure bill that they wanted to do some of those big, huge bridges that are bottlenecks all over the country. That's part of this, but there's also a piece that we can go for, and Maine has a real lot of bridges compared to its population, given how far we're spread out in its geology. I love every river and stream and cove that we have, but they mean a lot of bridges. And so that's a good program for us. The National Infrastructure Project Assistance looks like it's going to be for mega type projects. So I'm not sure exactly what that can do for us. There's a rail crossing elimination program that again is probably targeted to some bigger challenges. Charging and fueling infrastructure as part of the climate action plan, that provides a good source potentially be looking at. There's a rural surface transportation fund. Anytime it says something like that, that sounds like something we control and to try to do. There is a protect program that's for resiliency. That's over and above the money I talked about, that guaranteed formula money. These are grant programs. That's why I divided this conversation in the kind of the paycheck versus the bonus. One's the paycheck and one's the bonus you can earn. This one seems like a sleeper, but it's not. I mean, the National Culvert Removal Replacement Program, turns out that this applies to places that have salmon and other kind of things. And guess what? There's two states where that applies the most, Washington and us. And so there's an opportunity. There's an active transportation infrastructure program that could be, we think there's a lot of opportunity under the carbon reduction and other places. I think bike paths funding, the deputy administrator down there that came from Massachusetts has a real focus on that. I think there's going to be funding for that kind of through one of these discretionary programs. And the rest, quite frankly, reconnecting communities and all that. I looked through the regs. I can't tell what these things are for yet. I can't tell, but so I just take the title and put them on there and know that if there's an opportunity, we'll be trolling. So that's really the big thing, is that discretionary grant money, the existing programs went huge, and new programs. Of course, people like me and other commissioners asked for it. Could you just give us the reliable paycheck money that we can do that? But as you know, as policymakers and others, grant programs can be more targeted, have more policy influence, all those kinds of things. And so they went in that direction. And we know how that works, or we know how it did work. We're going to learn how it still, we're going to be reorganized. We're going to get people, we're taking people and moving them around to get prepared for this era of a lot of grants, because that's what, if that's where the money is, that's where we're following. In summary, this is a good bill. It's anytime Congress does something nowadays, you should be grateful and have some humility and say thank you. So we do. The guaranteed kind of paycheck money is healthy, but not game changing. And with inflation, that's largely the real opportunity with this new bill is in those discretionary grant programs. It's going to be the better part of a year at least before all those programs are stood up and you know exactly what it is. The bulk of this funding that was passed in this bill will probably not be hitting the street nationally for a couple, 3 years, to be honest. This is a 5-6 year bill, and the gas and brake pedal on a capital transportation program is pretty mushy. I mean, you can hit the gas, but it's not like it takes, because there's so much work you have to do, like Representative Williams talked about, on what visioning and planning and getting the money and designing and moving forward. So I see this as it's a good thing. I think it eventually could become a very good thing, depending on those discretionary grant programs. So we're MacGyver still lives. We're still going to be stretching the dollar where we can in the rural mobility areas. But I think we can use, we were already talking like for a village program where you can revitalize things at pedestrian scale and lower speeds and closer to placemaking. A lot of those grants are set up for that. So it gives us the opportunity to not take from the rural areas, which we can't do. I mean, we have to make sure you can get there from here. And we will do that. But the discretionary grant programs let us say, is the there a special place? And this is something we can do about it. So that's one example of where we see opportunities with these discretionary grants. So sorry, I know that went longer, but I like the questions during it. And I'm happy to take any more, Chairman.
Commissioner, just quickly, could you, if you haven't already, provide this PowerPoint hard copy for the committee members?
Not yet. I can be honest and tell you that it was in production right up till very early before this, but I'll make sure you get it.
Thank you. And the other question is, this last $100 million bond that was passed, is the general fund still picking up the interest that goes with that, the debt service and all of that with this most recent one like they have in the previous?
They are. I think that's the 7th consecutive where that's happening. Yes.
Okay, good. Representative Martin?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, great presentation. Question, we received some general fund monies in this fiscal year, correct?
Yes, significant.
All right, does that go away because of these anticipated federal funds, or is that still there?
Well, they were one-time things, but they couldn't have come at a more important time. 2 different initiatives. One that was a just straight $50 million transfer. That dug us out of the highway fund revenue hole. That drop in traffic you saw, that translated to tens and tens of millions, probably closer to 75. At one point we guessed 90, then we scaled back to like 70. That was a huge hit, and that allowed us to keep going. The feds, as I mentioned before, didn't have straight programs for highway and bridge type stuff. Thankfully, the governor, the appropriation committee, and the full legislature stepped up, and that allowed us to do that. And then there was a one-time cascade that happened at the end of June that was worth about 56 million. So in total, there was 106 million in addition to the bond that got us through this pandemic, and we couldn't be more grateful to everyone involved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. At this, is this the time that we start looking, you start looking, and the committee starts looking in the legislature to create a rainy day fund for the highway fund? I mean, if we get a fund started around a couple $100 million to serve for the same purpose that we do in the general fund side, is this a time to see if we can designate a few dollars here and there out of all those various accounts we just heard about to create a fund like that?
In my own personal opinion, no, but for reasons that might not jump out at you. One is that DOT, as this committee is aware, is always kind of like, we use our capital program as the governor going up and down. So when it rains, we already scale back. And when it's good, we already gear up, and the rainy day fund is critical on the general fund side because the bulk of the organizations on that side are operating, their payroll, they're operating entities. They don't have a capital program that they can kind of dial up and down and up and down. And so the other thing that I won't say it, but past committee members said it's always raining in transportation. So, the needs of what to do are always so far greater than what there is money to do, that having it sit is unfair to somebody who's not getting their road fix or their bridge fix or something. And so we've kind of become the DOT capital program is the regulator or governor that has done that. And we've become strangely comfortable at looking forward and gearing our capital program to whatever the revenue needs are. I just wonder what would happen if we did, say, have a couple $100 million sitting in a rainy day fund and we proceed to do our usual, here's what we're not doing. I think a lot of policymakers would say, go forth and do as much work as you can with that money. So, but I certainly respect the idea. I've thought about it a lot. And I just don't know how we'd reserve it when it's kind of always raining and there's always so much to do.
That's the same argument we had in appropriations when we were way back trying to create a larger appropriations fund, that there were so many needs, we should be spending those dollars. I'm just thinking that argument can always be used.
No, I hear you.
It could be used on the general fund side. Obviously, you just articulated how it could be used on the highway fund side. It just seems to me that there could be serious times when we need to have, if you had some funds that were available, if we had some funds that are available, that we could deal with what potentially could be disasters. But it's a thought that I've been banging around in my head now for several months. Obviously, it sounds like you have too, but
I'd love to talk to you more about it.
I think it has some credibility for discussion purposes, at least.
Sure.
Representative Perry.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up on that. I think, I think that is a good idea, just like I believe it's a real good idea if we can ever have the will in the legislature to move the sales tax from vehicles into the highway fund. It's 100% highway use. It should be in the highway fund. If the general fund builds their budget without it once, their budget's built. And that's money that is long-term for highway. Vehicles go up. I know I've just bought 2 in the last few months and watched thousands of dollars go towards the general fund, not going towards highways. And I would love to see, and I guarantee you, the public would agree that sales tax on vehicles and vehicle-related sales should be going into the highway fund. And then maybe we could do the, put a little bit away thing if we had a good steady stream of money coming in, for that rainy day. But I think that's what we need to look at changing. It's about $250 million a year on average, which I think would go a long ways to solving our funding issues in highway.
Thank you, Representative Perry. Senator Farren.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to compliment Senator Perry. That's the first time we've heard that suggestion, and that he's brought that up. So that's a good one.
Well, he's always been full of surprises, so it's a great idea. Other questions from the committee of the commissioner? Commissioner, thank you very much. That's been very helpful. If you could get us the hard copy of this, because some really good information there, and we're all going to be asked many of those questions where the answers are sitting. So it'd be nice to have that, and we appreciate you taking the time, knowing that you got a lot going on, but it was important, and thank you.
Thank you. I very much appreciate the opportunity. I always enjoy my time before the committee. So we'll make sure you get to that PowerPoint right away.
Excellent, and we look forward to seeing you on Thursday.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else from the committee members? Good. Seeing nothing. Senator Farren, did you have a motion?
Yes, I'd make a motion. We adjourn.
Thank you very much. Oh, hold on. Representative Bryant, did you have a question?
No, I just want to again recognize Representative Martin for his birthday before we leave.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I thought we would sign off singing happy birthday.
He's getting older by the second.
Let's dig out that cake and we'll,
Right.
I hope you have your cake and eat it too.
Right. And again,
I will.
Again,
You usually do.
Officially, we want to welcome Julia McDonald to our committee assistant staff. We really appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to working with you this next session.
Thank you. Me too. And yes, happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Senator Farren moved that we adjourn. Is there now a second?
Second.
See you all Thursday.
All right, great job, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care.